We are ranking the entire MCU movie catalog. This is Talk Punch. Thank you so much to both our audio podcast listeners and our YouTube viewers for joining us. I am Brody, joined by Tudong Dylan.
Hey!
And the fandral of this Warriors 3, Charlie Hickman.
I feel like sometimes you name me as these characters that have amazing facial hair as a dig because of how great your facial hair is, as if I could get the fandral mustache going up or anything like that. We get it, Brody. You have the superior beard.
Well, no, clearly I would be Volstagg because he has the big beard.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Like Dylan's more of a Thor anyway.
No, Dylan would be Hogan. We're the Warriors 3, Charlie. We're the Warriors 3.
We're the Warriors 2. We need a third, and Dylan gets to be Thor.
Okay, I could do that. All right, well, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, we do have a Patreon where you can get exclusive content about topics that you will not hear on this main channel. You can find more information about that in the description below. And if you haven't already, we'd love it if you subscribed and hit that notification bell so you can come back here every Wednesday to hang out with us and have some fun, because oh, what fun this July is going to be, because we are ranking everything. If you were here last week, you saw us rank into buckets of 8, with one of them being 9, because that's just how the math works out. So now we are actually starting the ranking. So we're starting at the bottom. We are doing 26 through 33. How you guys feel about this? You guys ready for this? You guys excited about this?
I'm excited about this. It's going to be fun.
I no longer have Charlie next to me. I just have this poor space with a.
It was a great trip. I miss you. I miss you guys already. I highly recommend it. If you're watching this, you ever get a chance to go visit Brody, you should just do it.
It's true.
We've offered several contests that would get you to sit next to Brody in the chair. Make sure you take advantage of the next one. I won, and I got to go, and it was the trip of a lifetime. So
there you go. Yep, very true. All right. Well, let's move on to the rankings.
Let's do it.
All right. So we have the bottom 8. Now we're going to try to stay positive here. We don't want to just trash these, even though they're at the bottom and they're probably not, well, definitely not the best of the MCU.
Some of them may deserve it.
Some of them may deserve it. That's true. All right. So let's go ahead. Let me read these out for our audio listeners. So we have, and this is in release order. I think I was trying to do it as I was building these. So we have The Incredible Hulk, Thor: The Dark World, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Eternals, Thor: Love and Thunder, Ant-Man Quantumania, and The Marvels. So if you've never joined us for one of our rankings before, we are going to go ahead and shuffle these up, put them in a pile. They're going to come out one at a time, and we're just going to rank them and talk about them and argue about this, because with these Marvel rankings, there's some big opinions here.
Big opinions.
As you may have seen from the last episode, if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that. You'll see us argue about plenty of Marvel movies. All right, let's go ahead and shuffle it up. There it is. Just like that. Push a button. There it is.
There it is.
Okay. First up, Captain Marvel. So obviously number 9 is going to be like the worst of everything, and number 1 is going to be the best of this bunch. Captain Marvel. So I kind of struggle with Captain Marvel because while I was not crazy about it, my daughters love this movie. And so there is like something to be said about this movie. I think I wasn't crazy about Brie Larson in this movie. So
Did you ask your daughters why they like this movie?
They like that so they both my daughters love cats. So they love the Flurkins.
Yeah.
They're also just excited to see like a girl superhero kind of taking charge like this. You know, we've watched all the Marvel movies, at various times. I remember in Endgame when all the girls walk over. I remember like the people online were like, oh, there's this scene with all the girls walking, but like my daughters loved it, so my wife loved it too. So
Black Widow should have been leading that right there.
For me, Captain Marvel, I think maybe like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
You guys
I
have
think that's fair.
strong objections to that.
So I think I just to add to a little bit to what you're saying, and I think this one kind of suffers. This is going to be a common theme that I'm going to be alluding to, is I think when these movies were released matters, and like this, like the timing of this release is like it was like a rough. So 2018, right? We get 3 big Marvel movies, and then 2019, obviously, we're getting Endgame released in April, and then we have this like Captain Marvel kind of sandwich there. There's a Spider-Man movie coming out later in 2019, and we get this one, just kind of in March, right? So before sandwich between Infinity War and Endgame, and just like what. Like talk about like setting a movie up to kind of like be disappointing. Like in the middle, we get a snap, and we have all these beloved characters dissolving. We have this epic action of Infinity War, fantastic movie, and we're all kind of waiting with bated breath for Endgame to come and like to finish off this amazing saga. And they're like, well, here's a Captain Marvel movie. Let's just slip it in here. And it was just kind of like, just so they could like show her in Endgame and like set up the character, but just like. If they sequencing, it matters. Like if this had come out in like 2017, I just think it would have been the reception would have been way better. We got 2018, we get Black Panther. We get the Ant-Man movie was fine. But we get Black Panther, which was amazing. We get Infinity War, which is amazing. We're all excited for Endgame, and then they kind of just slide this one into the schedule in March when Endgame's coming in April. It was just kind of set up to fail, and I know that we'll talk about the Marvels later. I think you see Brie Larson take a better hold of the character in the Marvels than versus Captain Marvel. Certainly a more charismatic turn at the character. I think. I like the chemistry of the 3 leads in the Marvels, but we're not here to talk about the Marvels yet. So look, I think this is a better movie than it gets credit for. And I think it just kind of gets. I think the reasons why people like it don't like it makes sense to me, and the reasons why you guys have stated you don't like it makes sense to me. But it's not like it's certainly not in a bottom 4 for me. Top 4 of the bottom. Way to go.
How about number 4? Let's drop it at number 4 for now. Anybody have any objections to that?
That's a good idea. I'm for it.
Hey.
All right.
Oh.
Okay.
Well done.
Black Widow.
Speaking of, let's put this movie out at a certain time after she's already dead.
Yeah. Speaking of bad timing, right?
Yeah, but okay. Seriously, watching this movie, there were a lot of problems with it. Like, somehow Black Widow had become as durable as Iron Man. Somehow. She's like falling through debris, like from heights that should have killed her, and she's hitting things on her way down, and then she dusts herself off and gets up. And I'm like, she's supposed to be the human that we're like, wow, she's holding her own as a human, not as a supernatural entity like she is in this movie. And it's also, I don't understand this movie at all. Like, I don't understand the pacing. I don't understand why they had Taskmaster as all of the way that they had done that. I was just really surprised by it. This one is low for me. This is easily 8 or 9. Well,
whoa, wow,
maybe
that's
7.
really low.
Maybe 7, 8 or 9. Yeah, I thought that. Like, there's no reason for it. You see her walking over to, like, her generator comes out or something like that, and you think it's not tampered with. It just happens to go out. Like, if it had been tampered with, it's like, okay, so we're going to build some tension, but there's none of that. Let's show a nice shot of her from behind as she's walking towards the car, because nothing else is happening in this scene, so we may as well go ahead and do that. I don't understand why, as she was like the executive producer, why wasn't she like, what? Like, none of this makes sense. Who's writing this stuff?
But this also had White Widow that I really liked.
White Widow.
Florence Pugh.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you know what? I will say that this movie did introduce Florence Pugh as the... is she the White Widow in it? Is she that? Is that in the comics?
I mean, in the comics, she is.
Hey, I thought she was fantastic. So, it does get points for that.
I really liked Red Guardian.
Red Guardian's good.
Yeah, Rachel Weisz and David Harbour are good, and I like Scarlett Johansson. I think she's a good actress, and I think she did a great job with the Black Widow character. And I think it deserved better than this. The whole third act I thought was just like a kind of a disaster. I wanted a good Black Widow. They all they needed to do was make like a Mission Impossible movie and just put the Black Widow in. That's it. Some real practical stunts, a nice spy thriller, and if you know you want to make a Black Widow movie, just simply do not kill her off in Endgame. It didn't serve that much of a narrative purpose, and the weight of that death was completely dwarfed by the Iron Man. Like, I know, spoilers. It was completely dwarfed by Tony Stark and Iron Man.
Yes.
I mean, so it's just almost like an afterthought. Like at the end of the movie, you're like, oh yeah, she died, and Gamora dies, but she gets to come back, and so it's just kind of like a weird, like almost like just completely unnecessary thing. And then they release this movie. Release it earlier, kill her off. Don't kill her off, release it after. But don't give me a prequel with a bunch of flashbacks with a terrible third act.
Right.
For like one of the strongest characters that had like a through line character for the whole MCU. I was just disappointed. And for me, like this one's in that bottom four for that. I had high expectations for this movie. I thought it would be good. And I wanted it to be good. And then the way that Endgame ended, and then with this movie, I don't know. Bad taste in my mouth. It's not one that I'm going to revisit. It kind of makes me grumpy when I see it on the plus machine. Kind of just what could have been, grumble.
And it could have been good. So, like the opening, like the little like intro credits thing, I thought was great. I thought that was so cool.
The whole first hour is pretty solid. Like, and then it just starts to
the flying fortress and the fall that just lasts forever, falling from space apparently. Yeah, it definitely falls apart. Okay, so where do we want to drop this?
7. Let's start off at 7. Yes. 7? Let's start at 7 unless we want to bring it down.
Okay. All right. Eternals. Now, I know that I said we're going to try to stay positive. I will say though, my wife and I watched this when it came to streaming. We both finished it, and we both walked upstairs angry that we had watched it. This for me is very, very easily and very far and away the bottom of the list for me. This is my number.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is my number 1. And because
no, it's not.
Because as I said in our last episode, it's a movie that takes a swing. It tries to be something different. You got to give it credit.
It tries way too hard.
And doesn't it try a little bit too hard to be different from Marvel by actually turning into DC almost? There's like a Superman character in there.
Okay, this is not a good movie. I appreciate the effort to try to do something different. I think the timing of this is weird too. Like after Endgame, like you're as a fan who's watched all the way through that point, you're kind of wondering, okay, what are they going to do next? And then there's like this smattering of films, and it's like, oh, they don't know. Okay, like, and maybe they have a great plan, but like you get this, like you get Black Widow, which is like completely disconnected from everything. You get Shang-Chi, and you're like, okay. All right, and then you get Eternals, and it's like, what? And then you get Spider-Man movie. It just kind of like was like a weird, like the timing of it all was like a weird slate. That Phase 5, it just felt very disjointed. And I don't know. This movie was hard to watch. It's just hard to watch. It's very slow.
It's very hard to watch. This just didn't fit with anything, right? This came out after Endgame, so you have these godlike people who could have prevented, who could have stepped in at any time, and they're just like, nope, they didn't, and then they set up prequels, or not prequels, they set up sequels where they have Star Fox show up. They have the Eternal coming out of the ocean, which is
don't they have Blade?
Yeah, they have like a Blade reference. It's it just didn't fit anywhere, and now it feels like they're having to do like damage control because they're like, oh, what do we do with this Eternal that's in the ocean? Do we just ignore that? Or do we like, what do we do? That should be a major thing. And now it's, I don't know. I haven't heard it mentioned like anywhere else.
Nope.
So like I said, this for me is number 9.
Number
Number
9?
9.
Not number 10?
No, we don't have a 10.
It's
I just thought
pretty
you put
bad.
I thought you would put it because you said it was a distant
Oh,
last that we would go
no,
1,
I'm
2, 3,
sorry,
4, 5, 6, 7,
number
8, 10.
My numbers are a little mixed up here. So
Okay.
number
Anyway, number 8.
sorry. Yeah, number 8, because we're doing 8s. So right now Black Widow is at 6, not 7.
I still think it could be at 9.
We'll see.
I still put it at 9. It doesn't deserve to be on the board there at all.
It might move there. We'll see. Okay, next up, Thor: The Dark World. Boy, this one for a long time was this was always the example of like, not everything Marvel does is golden.
Mm-hmm.
This was their first big like miss, right? Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
unless you count
and
Hulk.
you know what?
I mean, there was Hulk, I guess, but
That wasn't a big miss. That was not a big miss. This was a big miss. I watched this and I don't think I've ever wanted to revisit it. Really, really, like the writing is it's slow. The whole thing, I was just like, and for some reason they decided to double down on Darcy being in the movie, and just way too much. Like shockingly way too much. I was like, oh, she's kind of charming in the first one, just enough. And then I saw this and I was like, why'd they give him so much? They just Natalie Portman, her acting wasn't going to save it, and basically nothing else was going to. Like this just was very mislike. It's like they didn't really know what was happening.
Yeah, this is a convoluted plot. It was just not a well told story. It was not. There's not like cool. This is one that I tried to revisit because I knew we were going to do this, and you time has this weird way of kind of like, was I too hard on this? Sure. Now that we've had some of these other movies that like I didn't enjoy in the MCU, was it just that this movie was bad, or was it just not as good as everything that had kind of come before it? And then you put it on for a few seconds, you're like, no, it's real bad. It's real bad. So this is my number 7. This is an easy number 7. But I will say I do like. I'm trying to say something positive about each of these movies. Number 9 or number 8, Eternals was a big swing. Number 7, I like that they didn't kill the character of Thor in solo films after the lack of success, and that they tried to remedy a lot of the mistakes with it instead of just abandoning it.
Yeah, I mean this one was kind of so poorly received that they essentially had to reboot the whole character.
Yeah, we would not have if this movie didn't exist, we wouldn't have Ragnarok. So it's got
it's true.
Way to go.
7 is a good one. 7 is good. I agree.
7. Okay, next up, The Incredible Hulk.
Now, I'll be honest, this is my number 1. I can go back and revisit this. I've revisited it several times. I like how some of the writing is. I don't understand why it was maligned as much as it was. I mean, for an Incredible Hulk movie, I mean, it was good. It was entertaining. It wasn't just like the Ang Lee, Eric Bana Hulk was just so boring. It was tedious to watch, and this not tedious to watch. I mean, Edward Norton's doing his thing. He's not coasting. He actually cares a bit. He's putting the stuff in there. And I mean, for an Incredible Hulk movie, I mean, I like he goes back to Betty Ross, and General Ross is like the adversary, but they kind of they gain a mutual respect in the end with Abomination, which I thought was a great character. I loved how they did that. Like later on, I liked revisiting that character. Kind of odd, but I mean, still, I thought it was good. I liked Tim Roth in this movie as just a psychopath.
It's true. Charlie, how you feel about this one?
This is one that like I've probably enjoyed more in my younger days. It's not one that I not that I couldn't revisit, but just not one that I want to. I'm trying to be balanced in how I think about these movies, and it's probably just not that interesting of an approach. Because who wants a balanced opinion? We want get some rage clicks going. But when I watch this, like there's things that this movie does wrong that I found completely forgivable the time that it came out. But for
Like
movies like the bad CGI, like a
Oh,
weak
yeah,
villain,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
just stuff that like, hey, it's the second MCU movie. They're getting their footing. They're introducing characters. You know, it's going somewhere. I'm still just excited that we're getting, you know, Marvel-led superheroes on the screen. I'm basking in the afterglow of Iron Man, and so like, there's just things that are wrong with this that are also wrong with movies in 2021, 2022. But it's harder to forgive bad CGI in 2024 than it was for me to forgive in like 2008 or wherever this movie came out. Like we shouldn't be still having that like big problem now. And I can forgive Hulk a little bit more for like having an underdeveloped villain or too cartoony of a villain at times and things like that. Because it was the second movie in the whole, but we're still doing that like 20 years later or whatever, 15 years later. Like, so like I'm kind of like of two minds with this one, where like it's not a great movie. It certainly belongs in this bottom of the list, but like the things that it does wrong are a lot of the same things that some of these other movies do wrong. But it's like just at some point they should stop doing those wrong things.
Sure.
We've had enough practice and enough time. Like tell good stories and get out of the way. But so this is probably a top 3 for me. Anywhere is fine.
Yeah, I was thinking like, I don't know, 1 or 2.
I was thinking 1.
Let's put it at 2 for a little bit more controversy. We can argue with Dylan some more.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Next up, Ant-Man Quantumania. Now we did trailer reactions to this, and I know I was super hyped for this movie. This was kicking off the big next phase. We had Kang coming in. And boy, this was just like missed opportunity for me. This was like the example of too much CGI.
Too much CGI. I did not appreciate Catherine Newton's take on
Cassie,
Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie Lang. I didn't like it at all. I thought her characterization and the way that it was written, I just did not. I was like, she's like, oh, I hate you, Dad. You're not doing anything. You only saved the entire universe, basically. It felt really, really forced. And I hate that kind of a thing where she's like, man, Dad, I hate you. You're not doing anything. And he's like, I've got to show my daughter. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense, that whole thought process. I didn't care for that portrayal. And I mean, like, a lot of things were shockingly kind of glossed over. Like, shockingly glossed over. I mean, like, the whole like for no reason at all. Oh shoot! I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer's character is like, "Hey, don't go into the quantum realm. Don't talk about it. Don't do any of that kind of thing.
Janet.
Don't even experiment with it." Even though you guys have been doing that, like, for years and years and years, she doesn't take 20 minutes out of her day to be like, "Listen, this is why I am saying all of this." She doesn't do this when even when they're like, "We're not going anywhere until you tell us." I was like, why would she not? I mean, none of these things made any sense. It was conflict for the sake of conflict. And I mean, like, for some reason, like, Paul Rudd they were like, hey, we want you to really be comedic no matter what. And if you're being sincere, do it in a comedic way. So it's not like we can take you too seriously. I thought he had a great blend with his character in all of the other Ant-Man movies and all the appearances in the other movies as well, like in the other MCU movies. But with this, I was like, what is he doing? Like, I don't even know what he's trying to do. Is he trying to atone for something? Saving the entire universe, basically? And I have defended him. I really was irritated with Nebula in Endgame because she's calling him an idiot. Well, she's really the one. He's the reason why they could go back and undo the snap. And she's the reason Thanos came through into their world to kill everybody. Her complete fault. And she calls him an idiot. But in this, he really is an idiot because I don't even know what he wants. He's like, hey, I want to prove something to my daughter. I'm just kidding. I just want her to be safe. I'm not going to fight for other people, but what I'm going to do is save other people. I'm like,
I will say though, like I did like Kang. I liked Jonathan Majors Kang. It's kind of unfortunate that things played out the way that they did, and you know we're now losing that. But I did like Kang. And
did you like how easily he was defeated?
Jeez, right?
Yeah, he got sucked into the portal thing.
I'm just saying, man. If Thanos had appeared in like at the end of Thor 2 and Thor just kind of beat him, and then it's like, all right, but he's gonna be back, and he's Loki. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you. Go on.
So
go on.
But as much as I liked Kang, as much as I liked some of the humor, this one really fell flat for me. This is like a number. I would put Black Widow over this.
Yeah, I agree highly. I highly agree. Put Black Widow at 5 and put this at 6. Yeah.
And this one gets extra negative points for me because there were 2 already established Ant-Man films to build off of.
Right?
To miss this badly on a third movie. And I really liked the first Ant-Man, and the second one was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
To miss this badly, and it was like all the worst parts. Even when we did the trailer reaction, I was like, man, I really hope it's not just too over reliant on the CGI. Just like all the worst parts of like the current phase of MCU films are like on display here. It's badly written. It feels like it's just there to set up future movies and not to tell a good story. It's just like a gas station stop on like a road trip. And that's, you know, really it's just the porta potty of the new MCU phase. So yeah, but to say something nice, I do like Paul Rudd. He is a charming fellow.
Yeah.
There you go. Something positive.
Something positive.
He is very charming. Very charming.
But I miss his charming accomplices big time.
Yes.
Yeah, right. What a missed opportunity by not bringing Lewis back.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have the Marvels. For me, I came into the Marvels with extremely low expectations. I watched the Miss Marvel show, wasn't really a fan of it.
I liked Miss Marvel. I liked, and the character and the actress, I think she did great.
And so I came in with very low expectations, and I actually kind of enjoyed this one. I thought this was much better than I thought it was going to be. I thought Brie Larson was way better as Captain Marvel. She actually felt like she had a personality. I enjoyed watching her, whereas in the first one she felt very flat, and I think that was part of the like, oh, I've been in space for years and years, and I don't know what's going on Earth and stuff like that. But I liked her way better in this one, and I really liked like a lot of the set pieces, like the musical world. I thought was awesome. That was a great like set and a great like little scene there. So this would be over Captain Marvel.
I think it's fair. I think I like the chemistry between the 3 leads. I think that there's I liked the show, the Miss Marvel show more than you did. I liked it. It was colorful. It was fun. I think it's like a good family show. And I think she's like Aman Vellani, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
If not, forgive me. I think she's great. I think she's got like a really nice, like, just like she just kind of lights up a screen. She's got good charisma. She's very easy to root for and to like. And so it was fun. But man, like just I know that there were some good visuals. There were some nice set pieces. But man, there's a lot of this like in space. A lot of like Captain Marvel's flying. A lot of just flat green screen backdrops, a lot of the same. I hated the look of right at the opening. Both this and Thor: Love and Thunder just like start on this desolate planet that just looks bad to me. I mean, maybe you guys disagree, it's fine. And like the character, she's got like her boxy shoulders. It looked like someone designed this set and the sci-fi outfit in like the 1990s or something, and then just kind of kept it in a file to like, it looked like stuff for like the Fifth Element, which was great. It was like kind of like a hyper stylized sci-fi. I just didn't care for it. And it was immediately like, but it was short. Hour 45. Beautiful thing. Short. It was beautiful. Like a quick, you're in, you're out. Even if you don't like it, it's over fast.
There's also the villain of the movie that I just did not care about. That's one thing that I thought that Captain Marvel did much better at with Jude Law. This villain, I was like, I don't care. So it
Agreed.
really fell flat for me in that regard. But
Yeah.
so
But the girls were good. I like the chemistry. It was fun. I'd love to get back to some more practical effect MCU stuff. If we could do that, that'd be great.
Yes, please.
Be great.
Well, why don't we put Marvels at number 2 and push the Hulk up to number 1?
Why not
Or
just
we could
put Marvels at 3 and see what comes up next?
Because I know what's coming up next.
I don't remember what's coming up next. Oh,
I
now I do. Well, let's drop it.
Okay, drop it at 3. Drop it at 3.
Let's
This
drop it
is
at
not
3.
going to be number 1. It won't be number 1.
No,
This is my number one. This is my number one.
No, it's
Is it
not.
really?
Oh, come. All right. Let me hear your guys' cases for why you didn't like this, because I'm curious to have this conversation with you guys in more depth.
This was another example of way too much CGI. Now,
Yes.
it did some of the CGI really well. I thought the like the fight on the monochrome planet between Gore and Thor and Valkyrie and all them with like the like hints of light, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
But then there was other stuff that the CGI was so bad that they had to go in and like fix it up after the theatrical release in time for the digital release because it was so bad.
Like that kid's floating head, right?
The kid's floating head is like a really good example of that. This one also just coming off of Ragnarok, this one kind of did that thing that a lot of sequels do where it says like, oh, this worked, let's take it even further. And
Yeah,
so this took
yeah.
the humor like up a couple notches, but then was also trying to balance Gore. That's like a really supposed to be scary guy. He's supposed to be killing gods. We didn't see him kill any gods aside from like that first initial one. I wanted to like Gore, man. Gore is a cool storyline in the comics, and I just.
Hey, I'll say this. In that first scene that he was in, I thought that Christian Bale and the character of Gore absolutely rocked it. I loved seeing him just being like, oh, oh my God, then, we've been all this stuff and now you're going to do, you're going to help us out now. And the God was just trash. And you know what? When he picked that blade up and he stabbed that God, I was just like, yes, let's see some more of this. Like, what a jerk that guy was. And when he killed him, I was like, good for you. But then in other scenes, he is like, somehow he's like, oh, kids, I'm gonna pretend like I'm scary, but I'm not scary. I didn't know what he was doing when he like appeared in the midst of all of them and all of that. And the tone was really off. I mean, like, Natalie Portman's a character. They're trying to make it seem like, he's dying, but for some reason now she's like got catchphrases.
Yeah,
and who was it? Was it
the place?
Like Lady Sif was like, I'm dying and I'm going to Valhalla, and Thor is just like, hey, you gotta die in battle to go to Valhalla. Huh? And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm just kidding. I'm not really dying. And he's like, oh, good. Anyways, and I'm like, what the heck just happened? Was she not dying or was she? And she wasn't. And I love that they had more of Valkyrie. I love that character, but I don't quite know if we learned anything more about her character, even though, she was in a good amount of it. She wasn't in the battle in the end. I was like, she's not going to go into the end fight? It's just going to be like the two, like Thor and Natalie Portman's character? I'm like, what?
Although this movie did reference Event Horizon, which automatically takes it up a notch.
And Interstellar.
It
did?
Yeah.
It did.
She's like, you got to watch Interstellar so you can understand how the space folds to like the guy in the.
Oh, yeah.
The
That's
chemo.
right. That's
right. Look, everything that you guys have said, I completely agree with 100%. You guys you're all spot on. The tone is all over the place. It has simultaneously somehow the most like slapsticky, over the top, campy jokes mixed with like Christian Bale and in interviews saying he's trying to push for an R rating, and we have Natalie Portman's character dying of cancer, and somehow we're just kind of mixing that all in a blender and just saying, let's see what happens. And you're absolutely right, bro. It's like okay. So look, all right. Forgive me. I'm gonna do my best to pronounce every name properly, and I actually do practice these things. But Taika Waititi, I believe, is the pronunciation. But I'm bad with names. But look, our flag means death. Fantastic TV show. He's very funny. He's got a very particular sense of humor. Very funny. If you guys get a chance to watch it on HBO, it's very funny. Pirate show. Highly recommend it. You gotta stick with it. You gotta stick with it. But Ragnarok, is you can see, like they had no idea what to do with the character of Thor. They just had this clunker of a sequel. Many moons had passed since that.
Ragnarok.
And it's like, since the Dark World, right?
After
So
you
can picture, and he didn't really want to do. You read him in interviews, he didn't really want to do a Marvel thing, but he said he needed the money, and he's kind of like, hey, all right, I'll try this, and so they kind of do Ragnarok, and it turns out great. Like it's like a just enough of like the studio saying stay on target, and just enough of Waititi being like nah, and then you get like the overload, and they're like do your thing, and Chris Hemsworth in interviews was like listen, so I'll try to quote this exactly. He's like, I got caught up in the improv and the wackiness, and I became a parody of myself. I didn't stick the landing. And that's kind of what he quotes. And he goes on and has some more reflections about the character and the direction of the movie. And it seems like one of those movies that was really, really fun to work on and probably just didn't come through as well to the audience. Now, having said that, we are talking about a low bar to clear in terms of like these bottom 8. There are still a lot of enjoyable moments. There are some good jokes, and hey, you throw enough spaghetti at the wall, you get a few noodles to stick. And there's some good fight scenes. There's some good moments.
There are good moments.
There's some good moments. If you want to put the Marvels at 1, I think that's fine. The Hulk, though, come on. That's so 2008.
Why would Marvels be at number 1 and not the Hulk?
And
Marvel's at 2. I'd go Marvel's at 2.
Marvel's at 2.
Yes.
Or Love and Thunder.
Hulk at 1, Marvel's at 2. I would even put the Captain Marvel above Hulk or Thor: Love and Thunder, probably.
Charlie, where is this? Is Thor: Love and Thunder really your number 1?
So look, I'm trying to think of these things in terms of rewatchability.
Okay.
And I probably will never go back and watch anything that's in that bottom row ever again. And there are a few circumstances that I would consider watching Captain Marvel again. Like, it'd be a fun one to watch with my daughter when she's older. That'd be, I liked the Marvels enough to say like, hey, let's put it on in the background. That's fine, and I could have it on with other people watching it, and just kind of like, maybe play a game on my phone or something. But not be like mad that it's on. Like it wouldn't be like a burden that it's on. The Hulk is fine. It's just old. It's just not something that I would probably put on in the background. Love and Thunder, it's like, it's fine. Like I can have that on in the background. I don't really like we talked a little bit about chubby Thor, like that whole direction they went with, like from dad bod to god. I don't like, they did some weird stuff with Thor that like just kind of kept making him more and more slapsticky. That's not really my jam. I thought it was a good balance in Ragnarok. 2 over the top. Yeah. All right, fine. If you guys put Marvels at 2 and Love and Thunder at 3, that's fine. But I would put it above Captain Marvel because I just think there's in all of the cartoonishness, there is some like fun moments.
There are some. Not only that, but I mean, there's some poignant moments. I mean, like the thing with where he's like, she's like, why don't you want me to go? And he's like, because I love you and all that. I don't want you to die. I was like, I mean, it makes sense. That was a really real moment right there.
Can't really kill her off.
I can't either.
But the Valhalla, getting Valhalla was cool, I guess.
Honestly, they should have just killed off Christian Bale and just brought Natalie Portman back instead of bringing the little girl back.
Yeah,
that's what they should have done.
He could have been like, my wish is for these 2 people to live. That's it. Like these 2 people.
Yeah. All right. So how are we feeling about this? Do we need to move anything? Are we locking this in?
I can agree with this.
Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my perfect individual ranking, but I think it's good enough. Good.
Well, this is weird.
What would you put as number one? What would you put at number one, Charlie?
I would probably either put the Marvels or Thor: Love and Thunder at 1 for myself, just because they're colorful, a little bit more enjoyable for a variety of reasons for me personally. But I'm fine with Hulk there. It's fine.
Do we swap Hulk and Marvels? Dylan got the wide eyes.
You know my feelings. You know Dylan's feelings. So Brody, really, you're the tiebreaker. So you know what Dylan has number one.
It's true.
You know what I would put. So
don't put that on me.
But,
to put it on you. But it is on you, unless you're staking your claim sooner, which you didn't do. So you haven't said what your number one is. Your personal number one. You did a whole list. What's your list?
I had Marvels above Hulk.
Compelling.
What was your number one, bro?
Compelling.
It actually wasn't. It was a different movie that's on a different list.
But out of these, what's the highest rank on your list out of these 8?
Out of these was Marvels.
All right, well, there you go.
So, okay, so Charlie, where would Hulk fall for you?
I think the top three. I wouldn't put it below the top 3. We're splitting hairs here. So,
okay.
If you both think that Marvel should be 1 and Hulk is 2, I mean, it's still respectable. Just not Love and Thunder.
I didn't like the. I felt like they were doing some Guardians music, trying to get some good needle drops in there. I didn't like the music choices either, like with the Guns N' Roses and things. Anyway, there's some of that just didn't work for me.
Sure.
Give me some better music.
Okay, well, I think I'm happy with this. You guys good with this? Let's lock this in. Okay, so
yeah, you know it's a good list when no one's really walking away perfectly happy. That's when it's a good list.
There you go. Okay,
except for Brody, I think this is exactly what Brody would have put in his like personal order.
And I think for future episodes, I think I'm going to reorder these instead of 1 through 8. I think I may have them like this would be 26 through 33. So that's how I'm going to read them out. Okay, so I'm going to read them out. At 33, we have Eternals. 32, Thor: The Dark World. 31, Ant-Man: Quantumania. 30, Black Widow. 29, Captain Marvel. 28, Thor: Love and Thunder. 27, Incredible Hulk. And 26, The Marvels. All right. Well, that is going to do it for the bottom bucket. That's what I'm just calling them because I don't know what else.
Bottom bucket.
The bottom bracket? I don't know.
As someone who's had a bottom bucket before, they're great.
Yeah. So there you go. So next up, we are going to be doing 18 through 25. So please make sure you come back next week for that. Charlie, go ahead and wrap us up.
Well, as always, we love to hear from you in the comments. How would you have ranked these 8? And if your bottom 8 is not seen on the screen, let us know what you would put there. And we look forward. You know what I mean. You look confused. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, come on, you guys don't even have the best worst movie or best movie. It doesn't matter. Anyway, we love to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you next time for the next chunk of our Marvel list. You
for Asgard
are truly marvelous.